Okay, so this one's a little slow to get started, but please stick with it. I promise you won't be disappointed. This defendant's charged with assault with a dangerous weapon, felonious assault, interfering with electronic communications, domestic violence, police officer assault resisting or obstructing, and assault or assault and battery. 5 different charges is being held on a $25,000 bond. This is a probable cause conference to determine if the defendant should be bound over to circuit court. On the stand is the victim / possible girlfriend / friend / something of the defendant.
You may inquire.
Thank you. Do you recall July 10th, 2023?
Yes.
Where were you?
My apartment.
And what is the street address? Do you know what city or township that is in?
Yes, that's Ann Arbor, Michigan, Washington County.
And who were you with that day?
Yeah, 5 people. Names Percy.
And do you see Mr. Percy in the courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Can you please point him out and tell me something he is wearing?
Jumpsuit.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant as James Percy.
Record shall so reflect without objection.
And what is your relationship with the defendant?
We've dated on and off for 9 years.
And what happened on July 10th, 2023?
Well, we had come in from a psychiatrist appointment and got half of a gallon of Jim Beam.
Objection, Your Honor, foundation.
Sustained.
And that was all that was remaining in the bottle.
Well, no, I've sustained the objection. Ask your next question. Court will disregard what was said.
Okay. And did you get into an altercation with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Was this a physical altercation?
Yes, he pushed me.
And when you say he pushed you, can you demonstrate how he pushed you?
He pushed me. I was getting into the bed and he pushed me off the bed. And I fell back and I hit my head on my shoulder. I didn't hit my head.
And for the record, that was 2 hands to push you?
Yes.
And did you give the defendant permission to touch you?
No.
And what happened after that?
After that, I grabbed my phone and I tried to call 911. The battery was low. He asked me if I was calling the police. I said yes. He rushed around the side of the bed, grabbed the phone away from me. I then got up, got his phone, had it put it in him, tried to use his phone to call 911. Before I could get a call off.
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you right there for a second. When he took your phone the first time, were you able to call 911?
No, I wasn't able to hit send before he got it out of my hand.
And did you give the defendant permission to touch your phone?
No,
And then you said you went into the kitchen. What happened?
I had grabbed his phone, tried to use his phone to call 911. He had a special lock on his phone. I couldn't crack it. By the time I was trying to get a 911 call off the kitchen, and got that phone away from me.
Okay, so you weren't able to call 911 that time. And then what happened?
Then he reached into the butcher block, pulled out a knife, held it over my head, said, bitch, if you say one more word, I'm going to decapitate you.
And how far away was he standing when he said this?
From here to here.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Can you do that again?
from where I'm sitting to right here.
Okay. Record should reflect that's about 2.5 feet.
And did the defendant say anything else to you when he held the knife?
Say one more word. I'm going to decapitate you. And then we did a little bit of a stare down. After that, I grabbed the block that he had grabbed the knife from, and I grabbed 2 knives. And I held them out and said, well, okay, if you're gonna do some slicing, I will too.
And how did you feel when he threatened you with the knife?
It was very fearful that I didn't want to let him see me sweat, so I did what I felt was necessary to make him feel that I'm as crazy as he is.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
And when he got the knife, did he point that at you?
He held it over my head.
So did he come towards you with the knife?
Yeah.
Overruled.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination. You may.
So, Ms. King, it was your testimony earlier that you and Mr. Percy have been dating off and on for the past 9 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
Would I also be correct in saying that for approximately 6 months before that day in July of this year, that Mr. Percy had been residing with you?
No, not. We would stay sometimes. We did not reside with me. He didn't pay me any money.
Isn't it correct that in actuality, he paid you $400 a month to stay there? And is your testimony?
What is irrelevant to the?
Oh, Your Honor, I was just following up on what she said. But I can.
I'll sustain the objection. Move on.
So it was your testimony that Mr. Percy came over after 5 o'clock that day. Is that right? Isn't it correct that he had actually been at your home before that, before going to the psychiatrist?
Yeah.
And he had actually spent the night from the night before, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And the two of you had actually been together since even the day before that. Is that right?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I believe he was around the day before that.
And over the course of these days, you and he had engaged in drinking alcoholic beverages. Is that correct?
No, not.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Well, since she was bringing up alcohol, you objected. Now you want to bring up alcohol?
I would, Your Honor.
You would?
Yes, I would.
Okay, well, the door's open. I'll overrule the objection. Good luck with that.
And over the course of these 3 days, the two of you have been drinking alcohol, is that correct?
No, that is not correct. Alcohol wasn't brought into the picture until July 10th.
So would I be correct in stating that over the course of these 3 days that illegal substances were used by both of you, is that right?
No, that's not correct.
And would I be correct in stating that you, on July 10th, had smoked crack cocaine with Mr. Percy?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
What is the relevance of this?
Your Honor, Mr. Percy is indicating that Miss King's testimony and initial call were motivated by a situation with the substance use and a drug dealer. And so it's going to credibility.
I'll allow a little bit of an objection to the rule. Go ahead.
He bought that day one hit of crack cocaine that I did.
And over the course of that day, there was even a period of time where your drug dealer was actually in your home, correct?
Sorry, I needed to pause real quick and jump in. Look at the look on Judge Simpson's face and how his head jerked up. Like instantly my head went to that little clip that Mike plays with the hamster, dun dun dun. That escalated quickly. Wow. But I also don't like the whole like shaming of the victim in a domestic violence case. That really bothers me. So yeah, she took a hit off a crack pipe. That doesn't mean that he didn't beat her ass and throw her off the bed. Like, give her a break.
No.
Objection, relevance.
What is the relevance of whether a dealer was there? Presuming she has one.
Again, Mr. Percy is indicating that this situation and the phone call by Miss King are not true and were actually motivated by the situation between Miss King and her drug dealer.
Are you saying the drug dealer pushed her off the bed?
Your Honor, he is denying that, but he is saying that there were other circumstances that resulted in these false accusations.
I'm not following. He's saying there are other circumstances that resulted in her
False,
making these claims against him.
that is correct.
Okay, I'll let you go. I'll overrule it. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I think I'm going to repeat a question that I asked you just because I want to make sure that I didn't skip it, okay? Isn't it correct that your drug dealer had been over there with you and Mr. Percy at one point during that day? Isn't it correct that a gentleman named Mo had been there with the two of you that day? And during the course of this day, Your Honor, may I have one moment, please?
Yes.
And would I be correct in stating that Mo was there the day before, right? And that he was there the day before, July 8th? In fact, he spent a considerable amount of time at your home.
Sustained.
Now, before Mr. Percy went to his psychiatrist appointment, would I be correct in stating that you and he had gone to Family Dollar?
Your Honor, relevance.
What is the relevance of this? I mean,
I-
they did something during the day, apparently.
Your Honor, I anticipate that Ms. King will be denying these things, but again, these are the things that Mr. Percy is stating.
I understand. I'll sustain the objection.
Isn't it correct that Mo took you and Mr. Percy to Dollar Tree that day?
Sustained.
And in fact, over the course of that day, the two of you were shoplifting for money for drugs.
Sustained. All right, I'll wait for you to get it out next time.
Okay. Now, when Mr. Percy returned home, by that time, Mo had left, isn't that correct?
He was never there.
However, at that time, you had also decided that Mr. Percy, you didn't no longer wish Mr. Percy to reside with you, is that correct?
I never wanted Mr. Percy to reside with me. I allowed him to stay the night several times, but I never allowed him to move in with me. I never collected any money for rent. He ate me about out of house and home.
And it was
5 meals a day.
when,
Go ahead.
thank you. And at that time is when you decided to call law enforcement, correct?
I decided to call law enforcement. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get a phone call because my battery was low. I called.
So it's your testimony that you could not get that you were, because your battery was low, you were unable to get a phone call.
Objection, Your Honor, should let the witness fully answer the question. I think we could have heard the answer to the question. Her testimony earlier was that she tried to call, her battery was low, and he came around the bed and grabbed the phone. So if we could have the witness answer the full question.
Marie was doing just fine.
I would
Overruled.
hold it in, but-
Overruled. You're welcome. Go ahead, Ms. Gaines.
Thank you, Your Honor. So is your testimony that your battery was low and you were unable to make the call on the phone?
Before we grabbed it, yes.
Yep.
Are you also indicating that you would not have been able to make the call because of your battery?
I had just enough to probably get the phone call off, like 3 or 4%. And then when I did get the phone call off, was after I was able to get a little bit of charge on the battery after he had pulled the knife on me, told me he was going to decapitate me. I take that very seriously when someone says they're going to kill me. And they've said it before, and they've said things like, I've thought about it, and I will kill you, and I will kill you before the police can even get you.
Would I be correct in stating that that is information that you did not disclose to law enforcement on July 10th of this year? That there have been prior threats?
All I told them there was going to be fire.
Would I be, so I want to go back to something you just said. So you indicated that there was a point where you were able to get your charger, get your phone, and plug them in. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you had it, and you were able to have the charger on for a period of time where you were able to get more than 3 or 4%. Is that your testimony? I want to make sure I understand.
Not much more, a short period of time. I had told him to go to bed after he put down the knife and put down my phone so that I could put it on the charger. But he wouldn't go to bed. He kept coming out and taunting me and saying, I can take you. I can take you. And I kept telling him to go to bed, just leave me alone. And he kept coming up on me, and he'd come up with an aggressive manner. So finally, I grabbed the phone off the charger and I called 911. And I asked the assistant to hold on to the phone until they got there. I put a robe on because I was naked, and I went out front to wait for the police because I live in a security building, and he kept saying, before they ever get inside, you're going to be dead.
Ms. King, is it your testimony that you were naked during this whole incident that you described in terms of being on the bed?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
She opened the door to it, overruled. Go ahead.
Yes, I was naked when I was getting ready to go to bed. They pushed me off the bed and being chased into the kitchen. I was naked. He was naked.
He was naked?
Yeah.
Did he come? So are you trying to let us know that after coming from the psychiatrist, at some point he took off his clothes?
Yes. Because he was falling over drunk.
And it's your testimony still that at this time you had not had anything more than that one hit of crack cocaine earlier that day?
Yes.
No alcohol from.
I did have one glass of alcohol. I made it with coffee and the Jim Beam that he brought in, and cream and sugar, and I milked that through the night.
Let's stop and summarize real quick while Judge Simpson examines that very beautiful pen. So she's naked on the couch, relaxed from her one hit off the crack pipe, or amped up, drinking her Jim Beam and coffee with cream and sugar, when he comes out of the bedroom a dozen times and starts being an asshat, and then grabs a knife from the kitchen and threatens to decapitate her. WTF?
Okay. Okay. So approximately what time is it? Approximately what time was it when You indicated that you were pushed off the bed.
It was approximately 10 o'clock.
And your statement is that from approximately 5:30 until 10 o'clock, you were nursing the one drink?
I didn't start on the one drink until 7 or 8. Because he kept losing the bottle and getting argument about that I stole his liquor.
Okay. So, and during this whole time, you both are naked?
From about 8 o'clock on.
Now you stated, I'm gonna move forward in time to back to where we were when you were talking about the putting the charger and the phone on the charger again. So you stated, so it's your testimony that during that time, Mr. Percy was going in and out of the bedroom? Approximately how many times would you say he went in and out of the bedroom?
I
And during this time, let me rephrase that, I said it backwards. And as he was going back and forth, these 5 to 10 times, approximately how long would you say that lasted?
question.
Approximately how long was he going in and out of the bedroom? The 5 to 10 times? Like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes?
Like how many minutes was he out of the room?
How many minutes was the back and forth going? From the bedroom to where you were, from the bedroom to where you were?
I don't recall exactly.
Would I be correct in stating that it was more than 3 minutes?
I would think so.
Would I be correct in saying that it was more than 10 minutes?
I don't think so, because he was on the phone trying to get drugs, calling his drug dealer, Teddy.
So at some point, he stopped going back and forth and he was using the telephone?
Yeah, he was using the telephone. He'd go in and sit down on the bed and he'd drink some, and then he'd lose the bottle behind the blanket or whatnot. And then the next thing I know, he'd be coming out to ask me what I did with his bottle, because I was trying to watch a movie in the living room.
And that, the watching of the movie and the charging of the phone, all of that was occurring at the same time?
No, the charging of the phone and all that didn't start until I tried to go to bed at about 10 o'clock.
So I just want to make sure I understand the order of what you were saying. There was the incident that you described. Then
Which incident?
I'm sorry. There was the incident that you described as occurring in the kitchen where you had knives and he had a knife. Is that correct?
He had to knife first, yes.
And after that is when you started watching a movie. Is that right?
No, I had been watching the movie before that. And Um, I think I sat down, started over again because I wasn't comfortable going in and laying down. Wasn't a good time to go to sleep when you got somebody who just threatened your life.
So it's your testimony that at that time you sat down and started the movie again? Is
I
that,
believe I started it again, and I, put the phone on the charger in the living room. And I kept the knives handy. Because he kept coming in and out of the bedroom. He started doing strange behavior.
okay. So there was some time where you were watching the movie, is that right? After the kitchen. And then there was some time where he was going back and forth. Is that right? And is it your testimony that you continued to have the knives on you?
I had them on the table by me, yes.
And it was only after perhaps the 5th or perhaps the 10th time of Mr. Percy coming out of the bedroom that you decided to call law enforcement. Is that correct?
It was probably after the 5th or 6th time. I tell him to just go to bed. I was going to sit up. But Mr. Percy was very jealous and, demanding, like, come to bed now. Don't talk on the phone, put it on speaker.
Was that happening at that time?
At the time that I took the phone call that caused him to push me off the bed, he was telling me to put it on speaker. I hung up the phone, and he made me mad, and that's when he pushed me off the bed.
Would I be correct that at that time you were actually talking to a different one of your drug dealers?
Sustained.
Can I have one here, Mr. Percy, one more question?
Yes, you may.
I believe those are all the questions we have for you. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No further questions, Your Honor. and
Thank
no
you.
further witnesses.
All right, you may step down. You said you have no further witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Thank you, ma'am. Any witnesses for the defense?
No, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, thank you.
No, it's okay. You didn't have to say that. You've been up for a while. All right, do I have a motion?
Your Honor, if you would ask the court to bind over on counts 1 and 2, both 3, 4, and 5 following. The people believe they met the probable cause standard for assault with a dangerous weapon and interfering with electronic communications. The victim testified that she got into an argument with the defendant where he pushed her onto the floor, took away her phone when she was attempting to contact the police. The defendant pointed a knife at her and in a threatening manner that made her feel fearful and stated that he would decapitate her.
Thank you.
Response?
Yes, that the court find that the burden of proof had not been met, not find open.
Court, after hearing all of the testimony, court believes that the people have indeed sustained their burden of showing that the offense of assault with a dangerous weapon or felonious assault has occurred, as well as the interfering with an electronic communication device. Therefore, the court will bind the defendant over on counts 1 and 2 with 3, 4, and 5 following. Gaines as to the circuit court arraignment.
Your Honor, we acknowledge receipt of the information, waive its reading on the record, and at this time, Mr. Percy wishes to stand mute.
Defendant having waived formal reading, standing mute. Court will enter a not guilty plea as to all 5 counts. Pre-trial in this matter will be set for
October 4th at 1:30 PM with Judge Conlon.
October 4th, 2023, 1:30 before Judge Conlon. Bond in this case will continue. Thank you. Thank you.